right, folks, a Throwback Tuesday special with Vex. That's right. We're going to talk about Goonies. I don't know how long. I don't know what we're going to get into. You guys will have questions. You'll have favorite scenes, quotes, comments. Listen, it's just a fun movie. It's on my list. I told Vex we were in the green room talking about other stuff, and I says, I got to make sure I add this to my ongoing movie list to do a special video of movies that make me smile, or just put, Goonies is that kind of movie, isn't it, Vex? Where it's just like it makes you
From start
happy.
to finish, yeah, it's just like, yeah, I mean, it tries to pull at the heartstrings a little bit, and it's really got that like, the family unity message and all that behind it, but like it's just even when they're sad or when something scary happens, it's still just it's all part of the ride. It's like how a roller coaster goes up and down. So, start to finish, it's a feel good movie in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. It is. It's just one of those things where I never sort of stop to find something that makes me, you know, not be happy. I always find something that just makes me laugh. Like I could just see this image and it makes me happy.
I
I'm
already
good.
know what's happening and that like I'm
Yeah,
playing the
I have
scene.
I don't need to. I mean, it just puts a smile on my face. It just puts a smile on my face. So those of you who've never seen Goonies, something is wrong. Stop watching us. It's okay. You can come back. We'll be here. The video will be here when you come back. Go watch Goonies. It is that fun. Okay. A
And
lot
it's
of 80s
aged
movies.
wonderfully.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Like a lot of 80s don't always age well, but Goonies holds
Mhm.
up so well, doesn't it, Vex?
Even, like, some like, the special effects on like, the prosthetics on, was it Sloth, right? Even
Yes.
those,
Slop.
you
Yep.
compare it to a lot of the prosthetics you see in film today, and you're like, "It's basically on par." Like, this movie's it's over 40 years old now, isn't it?
Well, it's getting ready to be 40 years old. Let's be careful.
Oh.
Um, yeah, I saw it in the theater. Um, so yeah, it was 1985.
Mhm,
So it's getting ready, getting close. It's getting in there where we're getting close to 40 years here soon.
mhm,
But yeah, the sloth makeup of in Goonies is pretty incredible. Like a lot of folks don't. He's a famous football player. His name was
mhm.
John Matuzak. He actually passed away. He is
Yeah.
unrecognizable in that makeup. Um, but let's start at the beginning. Like we have this introduction with the crime family and stuff like that. We
Mhm,
get to the kids, and they spend the first part of the kids where we get, and this is where I think the writing story is always to me what makes things timeless.
mhm,
None of these kids are alike. It's a great eclectic group of kids, right?
mhm.
Everything from Sean Astin. I don't even know I don't even know all the characters' names off the top of my head, but it doesn't even matter, folks. You guys will be fine. Sean Astin's character, Corey Feldman's character, Kiwi Kwan, just the mouth and chunk data. And then of course Josh Brolin, the older brother, that
Mhm.
kind of thing. And then you get into the love interest and characters. Everything is so is it because we can always find someone to relate to, or is it just that we can just always enjoy how everybody plays off each other and that reflects real life?
I think it's a mix of both in all honesty.
Mm.
Like I think one of the big things that people really disregard when they say a movie like makes them happy or that they enjoy it is that you do in some way find a way to be relatable to it. And that's why it draws you to it time and time again, right? So having all of these different characters, one's neurotic, one's an adventure, one's just really, he's anxious all the time. One's, the little fat kid who's kind of mocked by his friends. Then there's the older brother that just wants, there's bits and pieces that you can pull from all of them and just be like, I understand what's going on. It's like it's seeing all of your emotions just kind of individually put onto a screen instead of just kind of melded together in your brain, basically.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, every little minutia of detail when I rewatch this just puts a smile on my face. It's nothing but a roller coaster of me smiling. It's like that introduction with each of the characters. Data has to play his 007 music to be this,
Hmm.
goofy spy wannabe. And then,
Hmm.
of course, they drop the statue and they break off the genitals and glue it on upside down, which makes me laugh.
Hmm.
Chunk is such a goofball, and he breaks the thing. That's how they find the map. And it's like, I don't know. I also, I don't know, this is okay. I get to say it. I'm old. It makes me feel like it really could happen. Is it like too weird and naive to feel that way? Like I feel
No.
like this is a story that could. It feels like it could happen. I mean, I know that pirate ship part of what I don't know. Maybe I just want to believe it could happen. Maybe that's it. I don't know.
I think this is where I don't know if a kid these days would be able to say the same, but I'm actually on the same level as you because it just makes me think of all of those like those days I spent playing outside in the neighborhood with the other kids and we were pretending to be, animals or that there was a monster around or we'd find like a little patch of trees and we'd think that oh maybe Bigfoot's living in there kind of deal. It's the childhood imagination finally coming onto the screen and it's manifesting itself almost in the fact that oh these kids actually are finding what we always imagined we would hope we would find when we played outside or when we were with friends, right? I think that's another underappreciated part of the Goonies is that it is really like a representation of every part of childhood that you can think of as it comes to friends, to the belligerent older siblings, to that mysticism that you feel, to how your parents, like if your parents are fighting, how that ends up making you feel a little bit off. So
Oh yeah.
it's a perfect embodiment of literally every major thing that even as an adult you're able to recall from your own childhood in some way or another.
And for those of us that are old enough, like we okay, so like in the background, there's that little paper towel holder right there, that wooden paper
Mhm.
towel holder where you can store things. My grandmother had that. That was in her house. That exact same thing is in her house. And I'm certain that every household had one of those gold um, pot holders there, right there, that little mitten, that little mitten. Um, isn't set design sort of a lost art? I watch a show like this and I'm just immersed in their world with
Mhm.
the intricacies of the details. It's so refreshing, is it not?
I 100% agree, and the most recent film I can think of, which I guess is not that recent, but Legally Blonde did a really good job of set design in my
Hmm.
opinion. For a girl at least, it's like you look at everything that's in Elle Woods' room and you're just like, "Oh man, like I had that as a little girl growing up too." Or it's like, "Oh, everything is so pink and wonderful." And then she has, the fuzzy pens and the fuzzy slippers. There'll be a heartthrob calendar on the wall even when she moves to was it the Harvard dorms as well?
Mhm,
Like you
mhm.
see that she has put her own unique twist on this very bland and neutral environment. So like when I can think just like subtle set designs, like Legally Blonde comes to mind because there's so much in the background that you don't realize is influencing why you're rooting for Elle Woods and why you're relating to her time and time again.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Mhm.
We've done so many Talk Hards, which is our Tuesday live show, and, we talked about this a lot. We talked about, Tombstone, for instance, recently. We
Mhm.
talked a lot about it when we did Tremors last year. Like, the intricacies of these backgrounds and details, and obviously in Tombstone, they purposely went back to all these photographs to recreate a certain chandelier and
Yeah.
this type of, you know, the ornate, molding, crown molding in the bar and just those
Mhm.
kinds of things. But when I look at a film like this, when I watch a scene and I'm like, they could have just done anything when they do these scenes, but they find little nuances that you
Mhm.
find in the background when you watch these films, and it's just incredible. And then
Mhm.
again, in this scene, we purposely created some costume design elements, right? So we purposely put, you know, um, I'm sorry, we put Mikey in yellow, we put Data in the blue, and Chunk in red. So they're not alike, right? Like
Mhm.
we purposely they easily. I know it sounds ridiculous to be this judgmental, but I feel like if this were made by one of the modern studios, I'm not sure what they'd be wearing, but I don't feel like it would be something very interesting and dynamic like this scene is to me. It's
No.
it's just a interrogation sequence. It's not meant to be like some sort of tell all about their characters, but in some ways, because at least there's a color palette there, your eyes drawn to things.
it also just like it separates the good from the evil, right? Which is
Mm,
another pretty central thing that is like it's really basically put across in this movie too, right? All the bad guys are always like she looks like your typical bad guy that you'd see in just a cartoon. All black, grouchy face, the scraggly hair, and then there's that pearl necklace just to add a little bit of motherly touch to her, right? Because that's a central part of her character's arc and whatnot. But you're right. I find even when shows do like the throwback thing, like oh, it takes place in the 80s, the color isn't there or the character in the color isn't there, and it's more just like what reference can we put in there to make you think it's so they might be wearing a Ramones t-shirt or be listening to Billy Idol in the background. But then there's nothing that makes the character visually stand out or whatnot, you know? So you're
right.
100% right. They're smart with the color here.
Yeah. It's just. I love like what you said earlier too, like the tapping into imagination and adventure, playing outside and that kind of
Mhm.
element. Um, the idea that you would just go on these now this the premise of the movie sets this up to be, I think, a lot more dynamic, right? So they purposely set up the fact that, you know, Mikey's dad is going to have to turn over everything to the museum. There's a
Mhm.
financial issue with the whole area. They set up a financial motivation that's bigger than themselves,
Yeah.
like a heroic journey, if you will, to find a treasure. But
Mhm.
it does, like you said, it taps into that idea of um, we could go on an adventure together. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And as a kid, you always want to go on an adventure. Well, you did. Actually, to be honest, we still use that term in my house. I love saying we have to adventure. What are we going to do at adventures? Things like that. Um, go ahead.
Oh, no, 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 you're good, you're good. Go ahead, go ahead. I don't have
Well, I was just
anything to
gonna
say.
I was just going to extend on what we said last time about the costuming and stuff like that. Like Martha Plimpton's character, they give her like a maroon sweater with like a red shirt underneath. Josh
Mhm,
Brolin's character has a red bandana, and of
mhm,
course, the her love interest, Andy, she gave her a gold sweater that she removes, has a white sweater underneath. Again,
mhm.
we purposely choose colors so no one has exactly the same kind of color on. We know everybody's going to be very distinct. No one's going to be blending in. We're going to make sure we keep very unique personalities and costuming and stuff differently. And I don't know. I know these are like really nitpicky, nerdy type things to get into. That's why I have Vex, because Vex is also like me. She likes to
I
find those
I don't
elements. I'm telling you.
yeah, I don't think that's a bad thing at all. Because again, if we draw the comparison to modern, cinema and television as well, or even just, like, think about it, in, like, a schoolyard thing. As an adult, you watch kids play in a schoolyard just like, "Oh, it's just a bunch of kids," right? There's no distinguishment,
Mm,
you just see a group of kids, but you look at it closer in a film, and it's like, there's a color that represents each child here so that you can say even if you forget the name, it's like, "Oh, that kid in red is like this. Oh, the girl in yellow is like this," right? So it helps create those little like, mental ties so that you get more invested in the film. That's really all it is. I love it personally. I prefer that movies go out of their way to distinguish characters and actually give a little bit aside from the way that they're written, of course, and acted, it's give me something supporting to make them stand out, and that's something I feel is
right.
missing quite a bit in modern cinema.
True, true. Just interchangeable characters, nothing distinct, nothing interesting, or they
Mhm.
stand and walk around and don't do anything interesting. Like there, I don't like to give Natalie Portman much credit for much of anything, but I will say this: there was one part of this masterclass video that I watched, and it was about acting when you don't have any dialogue or whatever. And she
Mhm.
was talking about like the other characters are talking, you're walking in the room, and it's like, how am I going to occupy myself like until it's my point? Like I got to get to
Mhm.
my mark. My mark is over there. I have 3 feet to walk, but I don't just, you don't just walk like a robot into the room on a
Yep.
mark. I gotta be honest, I see that in modern shows sometimes, but she's like, no, I'd come in the room, I'd maybe set something down, or I'd pick something up, or I'd walk over here and I'd fiddle with
Mhm.
this, and it was like, yes, exactly. Like it makes sense. And she was trying to give advice for acting, like maybe an act, how to make things believable or whatever. And it makes you attuned to those things. A movie like this felt like every single beat was hit. Like I don't feel like they missed their mark on anything. And
I don't
with
either.
that, there's no way to not give credit to
Mhm.
a legend. Chunk, Jeff Cohen. Cohen is like amazing in this movie. Like first off, these kid actors just brought it, and it's just amazing.
Mhm.
Um, and I know that he, you know, um, went into doing other stuff in his life and things like that. But man, this scene, this performance is just so much fun. I I love
It's
it.
childlike. I love how childlike it is. He is not trying to be anything more than just a kid at that age, which
Mhm.
again, it's when you see child actors now in most TV and film, they're trying to be something they're not. Like there's a lot of kids in horror these days, and they're meant to
It's
just
true.
be there as the scared opposition, kind of like they're your visualization of the fear that you're feeling and nothing more,
Right.
right? Even the kids in Stranger Things, like they're meant to be like 12 or 13 or 11 or something, but they all act like they're far older than they are. So it's even yes, even though this movie is pushing 40 years old, it's revisiting it and just seeing kids being kids in a film. Oh my goodness. It skyrockets the enjoyment
I
exponentially.
agree. That's
Yeah.
true. It's true. Um, the fact that he is also like the audience's vector to end up face to face
Mhm.
with the dead body and with the criminals and all that. Like it's perfect because he's the one that is no one's going to believe him. He's the one that's most sort of like hyperbolic and things like that. Oh, by the way,
Mhm.
this is a great movie still. Look at that one. Oh, it's a masterpiece. Oh, it's so good.
Look at how they all have a different reaction to what is
Hmm.
happening. The director didn't just say, "Okay, look scared." It's like you have a very specific character, and this is how would this character react in this. So I can see like Astin's got his eyes just screwed shut. He's
Yeah.
terrified, but then his friend next to him is just like he's just holding his breath and watching. Like he wants to be
Yeah.
alert of what will happen next, right? And even
Yeah.
like his brother
Martha
is just
Plimpton
like
looks like she's gonna cry. Yeah, she
right.
looks like she's
His
ready to break
brother's
down.
holding on to them in the back, and he's just
Yep.
calm. He's just like, I have to
Yeah.
be the protector here, right? So,
Yeah.
oh,
Chunks, I think, is clinging to hit. I mean, this is just yeah. Oh,
beautiful film. My
it sure
goodness.
is. Sure
Where
is.
did they I don't know if you know this off the top of your head, but the scene where they finally find the ship and it's in like this little cove of sorts. Did they build that within a set, or was that like they built the ship on a like undisclosed location?
I don't know for sure, but we're gonna look that up while we're chit chatting around things and
Okay.
get to that. So let me pull that up and get to that because
Cause
it's a good question.
that scene of when they first like come out into the cave and they see the giant ship like on the screen, like oh
Oh,
my
okay.
god.
Yeah. All right. So when they first see the ship, okay. So I do know this story. So the story was that they wouldn't let the kids see the ship. So they
Oh,
wanted to capture the original artist. So that is their reaction to seeing it for the first time. It was, or I should
gotcha.
say, their reaction is exasperated by it being their actual first time. Like, obviously, there's a script; they knew what they were supposed to say or do,
Mhm.
but their initial facial reactions like that were exasperated by the fact that they um, had hidden it from them, so they didn't know for sure.
Gotcha. Okay,
And
okay.
but we were talking about like this is Richard Donner, right? So Richard
Mhm,
Donner, Spielberg's producing. He's contributed to the script and worked with the kids a little bit with Christopher Columbus's base script, things like that.
mhm.
This is not as though we're not dealing with like the masters. These are people that
Gotcha.
really, really know what they're doing.
Mhm.
Let me see if this has no, that doesn't have anything. This doesn't have any. There's a website that has where movies are filmed on. Maybe we could find that too. But
Gotcha. No, it's just
yeah.
like that set was just so phenomenal, and even I'm just like I think like I don't know if you saw Peter Pan and Wendy, the Disney movie that came out
Oh God,
earlier
no.
this year. Okay.
Yeah.
There was a scene in it's a garbage movie. Don't actually, you know what? If you really have trouble falling asleep, put that movie on. There you go. Uh, but there's a scene where Captain Hook corners Pan and his friends in like this little cavern, and it kind of reminded me of the Goonies because the color is all there, the like it hasn't been touched in millennia kind of vibe was there. The water was like this beautiful crystalline blue kind of deal. It was just it was missing any heart.
Hmm.
But it reminded me of that, and kind of there's a bit of awe and wonder kind of sucked into that into the set when they chose the location. So that's why I wonder
All
if it
right.
was placed there or they put that in a studio.
All right, I have the thing here. Goonies was not only filmed in Astoria and Cannon Beach, but within the movie, they state it takes place in Astoria, in contrast to a fictional setting used by many films and television shows.
Mhm.
So let's go to what it says here. Oh, there's not a lot of pictures. I want pictures. Show us pictures, people. Is this them on set though? Scroll down. It won't make the pictures bigger, Vex. Oh, so
Oh.
frustrating. Oh, you internet. We have these unplanned things that we need you to let us know. All right, let me stop sharing this. Let me share this. Now, I also know this is true where the house is, so you can go visit the house.
The house
Um,
where he like his
their
lived in
main
the film?
house. Yeah, yeah, their main
Okay.
house. Because I know somebody that was going to give me, they were going to give me a piece of the house, like a piece of this. They had to redo the siding, so they had a piece of the wood, like a little wood plank.
Uh-huh.
I can't bring home another movie prop that I don't really. What are we going to do with this thing, right? My wife's going to be like, we got to. So here's people visiting the house, the Goonie location. This is the White House I was telling you about. So yeah, they had done some remodeling and cleanup and things like that. They did some restoration. So 40 years since the movie was made. So yeah, there you can go visit where some of these places are. So
Wow. Where is this in the US?
in Oregon, yeah.
Okay.
Here's Oregon Life. This is a filming location. So let's go there and do that. And take everybody on a little journey to Oregon and see some of the locations. That'd be fun. This is an
Oregon's right
article.
on the West Coast, right? It borders the Pacific?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. So this is it's pretty recent. This is a April article. Oh, that 11 locations. The Oregon road trip. There you go. There's one of our scenes, our shots.
Mhm.
Here, let's see. Can we make it bigger? Yeah, no, made us bigger. How about that? There you go. It's a little. I
That
don't know
might
what
be
that is.
better, yeah. You can
Yeah.
also just, like, on the web page, just press control plus sign. Yeah, there you go.
There we
You
go.
got it.
All right. And then here's this location with the rocks. Like Ghostbusters, movie kids aren't bad. Okay. So there's whole articles, I guess, where you can go. There's the house.
Mhm.
Again, you can do a new people. You can visit the house. All right, Mikey's house. Here's the opening scene at John Warren Field. Okay. Here's the data house. Oh, there's the address for Data's house in Astoria,
Oh,
Oregon.
alright.
Excuse me. Oh, geez. Come on. Go away, people. I want the stuff.
Oh, it's
All
not
right.
bright blue anymore, though. That's kind of sad. Looks kinda bland now.
Yeah. Why'd you do that for, people? All right. The Flavel House Museum. So this is been put under historical protection there.
Mhm.
And there's the address for that in Astoria. So basically, everybody that goes to Astoria is going to know, like you could just ask and people will just tell you, here's
It
LCville.
sounds like it, yeah.
Yeah. Here's a store that was in the movie. And Mouth's house. Boy, that's an 80s house. Woo wee.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
like a Brady's, like almost like the 70s. Yeah.
Is it still wood paneled? Is there an update? No, no updated photo. Or is
I
that
don't
the
know.
updated photo?
I will pull that up. We'll pull here. We'll let the camera rest there for a second. Let me go and
Mhm.
see what Street View looks like. Nope, still panels.
I like it.
Yeah,
You don't
Google
see a
has.
lot of wood panel house anymore. Even just the wood panel walls in some homes, you don't see people keep those anymore.
If my house looked like this, I wouldn't keep it. But if I found out it was
Really?
but if I found out if it was in a movie, I would leave it. I would make sure it
Fair.
stayed exactly the same. That makes sense. So it would not be my kind of house. I would want that change to be modernized a little bit with the look, not the paneling. I don't really care for it too much personally. But if I
Mhm.
found out it was in a movie and it looked like that, I'd make sure it was restored perfectly to look like it did in the movie. Because it would be the right thing to do.
It's basically a historical site at that point.
Absolutely. It's going to be more famous for being in that movie than you living there, my friend. Yes.
Exactly.
I would have tours. They'd be like, all right, call this number. to set up a tour. I'll walk you around my house. You can pretend that you're in. All right, Astoria Coffee Company. There's an address. So this is a I'm going to have to open Windows here. So I will put the link in the description, folks, for this, so you can go here and you can see this article, because I think this article is doing a pretty good job of taking us on a pretty good tour around Astoria, Oregon, to find some of these locations and things like that. I don't think I have plans to go there myself, but you know what? That's a fun thing to think about.
I've always wanted to go to just the West Coast in general. You've got the tip of the Rocky Mountains there. There's the Pacific Oceans right there. Also, a lot of serial killer hotspots over there to
Oh,
visit
that's
if
true.
you if you're into that kind of thing. So,
All right, there's the film museum shot, the jailbreak scene. There you go. Cannon Beach, where you can, hold your coin up. There's the rocks.
oh, there's actual rocks. Okay.
Oh, yeah. That's not an effect. That's actually like there. Yeah. That I knew too. I'm sorry. Yeah, Haystack Rock. There you go.
Wow.
Didn't know what it was called, but I knew there's like a big, world's tallest sea stacks. They're called sea stacks.
Wow.
Yeah, it gives you the information on how to get there. So yeah, the link
Oh,
will
look.
be in the description for that.
Twilight was filmed there too, it says.
Oh right, yeah. Here we go. Point Break and Twilight. Yes, and not the silly reboot of Point Blank. Good job, author. Good job. You're
They
our
know
kind of
their Goonies.
You're our kind of film nerd right there. All right, Cauldron Point, the Goat Rock Beach in California, the beach scene. Yeah. That's good. That's the final scene. Was not shot. Okay, the final scene in Goonies was not shot at Indian Beach, but it was okay. So yeah, it's more like the it's pieced together with other stuff that they did basically.
Yeah, the more or less inspiration for the final.
Yeah. There we go. Look at that great. Those kids are having the blast time of their life, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. Where were we on the movie itself? I got to give some love for Joey Pants. Man, these guys, they're such good villains. I was reminded when I was rewatching it, I was reminded of like Home Alone. Like not everybody can play the villain proper.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because with like a kids movie where it needs to be kind of fun and frivolous, and you need to have some of those elements that you maintain, and not everybody can. And in this movie, I just think that they just do it. They just get it right. Right. Robert Davi and Joe Pantoliano is Joey Pants is great, man. I just think it's great.
It's very much like I think 101 Dalmatians was the comparison I always made, just because I
Oh,
saw
that's good.
this. I didn't get to see this when it first came out, right? But it's saying like Hugh Lowry, and I can't remember who else was the other bad guy, but you knew they were bad and they did some bad things, but they still maintain that childlike comedy, right? So I've associated those two films, the performances, pretty alike.
Okay. Yeah, the 96 film had Hugh Laurie, and his name is Mark Williams. I don't know who Mark Williams.
Yeah, it doesn't sound familiar.
I recognize him, but he played Horace. Yeah, he played the other guy. I recognize him. He's one of those character actors that you would know and other stuff. So
Gotcha. Okay.
And this guy, let me share again here. Robert Davi, super cool guy. Totally based.
Oh, yes.
Totally based, super cool guy. Got to interview him one time. Really cool guy.
Really? He
Yeah,
terrified me in this movie, in all honesty, because I did see this as a kid still.
He has that you're not sure he's an actor kind of aura about him with the mobster thing. It's like you just feel it. You don't get that from others. I've always joked about De Niro because and they say he's like 5'10" or something, but it's like dude was tiny. I was like, yeah, okay.
Really?
He goes by Bobby. He goes by Bobby in real life. Yeah, I think he's only like 5'9", 5'10", but he felt small and he goes by Bobby, and I'm like, dude, it's freaking Robert De Niro. It's like once you're calling him Bobby, and then you're like, he's also like little. I'm like, it just loses some of the mystique. It lost some of the mystique for me. Like, I'm like, okay, all right, whatever, not my thing. Not gonna make an issue of it. Just kind of,
It
but
is
not
what it
Robert
is.
Dobby. Yeah, it is what it is. Yes, indeed. Let's see, where are we at? We're just on the journey, just loving, there's so many moments that I was so immersed into like this smart screenplay
Mhm.
written for kids. Like, even I know there's a couple of curse words and some things, but I mean, really, even when my kids were really young, they could watch this movie and it kind of challenged them to kind of like figure out some of the clues in the journey. And I really enjoyed all that. I think, like you
Mhm.
said earlier, too, because the kids are so interesting and dynamic. Their experience on that journey is so amazing, right?
Mhm.
The mouth basically just comes on like a story arc. Like he's like, this is my coin. This is my wish that never came true. And you have these great
Mhm.
moments. It's just, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. Sorry, I'm just working through the screen caps and the
You're
stories.
good. I'm sure, and it looks like there's screen caps for literally like every
Every
10 seconds of the
it's,
film.
I'm not even as sure it's 10 seconds. It's not. So it was take a moment to just take in that sloth.
Oh,
It's just,
just
you
it,
know,
it
it's what,
looks like there's skin there. Like it's quite horrifying how lifelike and real this looks for 80s. It's
uh,
wildly impressive.
yeah. Yeah. The makeup on sloth that's just incredible.
So hold
Yeah.
on. So if this is because I know what the guy underneath it looks like. So that would mean like the right side of his face, for example. Like we're seeing a real eye on the left, and then they've caked on the prosthetic and then a fake eye on the right.
I was trying to get to the point where he'll turn his face,
Oh,
but
sure,
I haven't
yeah.
I haven't gotten there
His
yet.
reaction though.
We're we're, we're watching this movie in frame by frame. Ah! There he goes. See, I think they changed the prosthetic.
Yeah.
I think they may change the prosthetic for the shot. You know what I mean? They do the prosthetic where you see the real eye on the right for that shot,
Yeah.
but then when he turns his head, they change the prosthetic. But that's his real eye on the left, but the prosthetic's been changed. That's what
Mhm.
I think they did. It's so good.
Oh my goodness. Even the ears, man. I didn't even notice like I don't remember the ears. You just remember the mouth is what I remember
And the
most.
ears move. The
Mhm.
ears move,
Yeah, they
right?
they twitch a little bit. Yep, yep.
Yeah. Let me pull that up just one second.
Mhm.
There's got to be somebody who does not know. So let's just do that for posterity's sakes. Um, famous football player, so it's a big dude, right? Plays sloth. This is what he looks like. John Matuzak. That's sloth. I know. It's like, what? Yeah.
Can't even like because they've even put a prosthetic on the top of the head, so you can't. Wow.
How big he is. He
How
was a
tall is
defensive
he?
He was a defensive lineman. Okay, I don't want to even guess. I was going to say 6'5", but for some reason I'm thinking he's even bigger than that. Let's pull that up real quick. But I remember him playing for the Raiders. Like I vividly remember him playing
Gotcha.
as a defensive lineman. He's like, he was a famous player. Let me see here. Nickname twos. 6'8". Way bigger than I thought. 6'8", almost 300 pounds. Yeah.
6'8".
Yeah, there he is in Caveman. It's one of his other roles. Man, you get the size and menacing in that shot, don't you? There's our guy.
6'8". My goodness.
Look how big he is compared to Mr. T. Holy cow,
Mhm.
that's a cool picture. Wow.
He's just all muscle. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I think he's from the roid era too. I think he's just
Oh,
totally juiced up.
gotcha. Okay.
Oh, I
Okay.
forgot that he was in Is that Dukes of Hazard? It's a Boss Hog scene. Yeah. Huh. Very, very cool.
Mhm.
Oh man, that's good stuff. John Matuzak's taking me back. Screen caps, motion cap. There's so many freaking frames. This website's cool because it just like it's every second or two. Like I don't know. There
You
are
don't even have to watch
109.
the movie.
No, you literally could just click quickly and just kind of get. You can definitely get all of the effects. Again,
Yeah.
I just want to put up the contrast to what we saw earlier, where they're all around figuring out clues, looking at maps. They're all emotional, but like you said, different emotions, right?
Yeah.
Levels of hysteria, and then right, Josh Brolin's character, the older brother, is trying to hold it together the best he can.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, very, very good stuff. And I was just like, I remember seeing this in the theater, and I was just such a nerd for this type of film. Like this was just like that, that taps into that the adventure feeling that you had.
Mhm.
It's like why we like Star Trek and Star Wars and adventure movies and stuff of that era. Just that was our thing. So this tapped into all of that for sure.
Gotcha. There was a Goonies sequel, wasn't there? Or have they just am I confusing that with
No,
the recently announced sequel that they planned?
yeah, they've been rumored to have a sequel for decades, to 20 years or
Oh.
so. I'm still of the opinion it's not going to happen. I think that I have a hard time even imagining them being able to pull it all off because
Mm.
who they could get, who they would be able to get as a creative team that would make it work is the problem. Like Ghostbusters Afterlife works for me as like the final chapter to pass a baton.
Mhm.
I don't know how I feel about things going forward, but like Jumanji worked fine for me. Like it seemed like it was fine. Like it was able to honor the original stuff and move on and still be fun and not lose
Yeah.
anything. I have a hard time. My issue would be, and again, I think I could write the story at least part of the way. Execution is the issue. Like it's easy to see these kids or some of these kids as being adults, and they've got kids, and somehow there's a story about it. Mikey or one of them and runs a museum like the
Mhm.
dad. There's another map or story or some other situation. You can't do the financial thing, so you'd have to come up with some other reason on why they would have to go on an adventure, but you can come up with
Yeah.
some other contrived reason on why they would do that. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
now
It just, yeah.
because I remember them it coming up. I think it was like right before or right after the pandemic started. The rumors were floating around again about it, and even just like the idea that you've laid out there, it would just basically be a rehash of the first Goonies movies. So it's
Hmm.
like the the wonder either way you go is kind of lost, right? Because modern
Yeah,
filmmaking does not take this much care and this much initiative in
right.
mesmerizing you with what you see on the screen, right? And let's face it, most of it will probably just be special effects,
Well, and that's
unfortunately.
the thing is like I don't, and then whenever you want to do this and you want to recreate that feeling where everything is real and practical, it'll
Mhm.
run the budget up so much because everything is so inflated. I'm like,
Yeah.
the best way to do a sequel for this would be uh, the $100 million indie type project that's away from some of the system rules to make it all bloated and full of like 16 producers and 5 writers. And, you just don't need all of that. That's what I would
Mhm.
be afraid of. It just be all instead of something that would be like the money needs to be invested into the production quality of the adventure and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And all of that. Um, but yeah, just such a good, fun movie. I'm so glad
Mhm.
we're able to take a pause and things like that. Do you remember the first time you saw it? I mean, it had to have been VHS or something for you, right?
I think it was actually on TV the first time
Like
I
a
saw it,
cable or
cause
something? Mm.
yeah, it wasn't even cable, like, there's, up in Canada, I think they've rebranded to something else, but it used to be called The Movie Network, and
Mm.
they had, like, 3 or 4 channels that would play more recent movies, and then they'd, like, premiere it would take, like, a year for a movie to come out on VHS before, right? A year, 18 months.
Mhm,
So,
mhm.
like,
Yeah, yeah.
around that time, they might on Friday or Saturday nights premiere one of those movies that just came out on VHS, right? But otherwise, they would just scroll through what were popular movies in the last like
Okay.
2 to 3 years, right? And they had another channel that was specifically dedicated to older films. And the Goonies was playing because they have like it'll be a set schedule per week, and they'll usually recycle the same like 30 to 40 movies throughout an entire
Mm,
week. And I just remember catching the Goonies on that. I guess that was also another big dedicating factor to why I got so into movies, is we had all those channels available.
yeah.
But yeah, so I got to see it in full because these channels are commercial free. So you see the original cut of the movie, swearing, nudity, whatever is included from start to finish,
So
uninterrupted.
HBO and Showtime would have been our equivalent here during that era, where
Yeah.
like it's post theatrical release, it's licensed for cable, these type of pay
Hmm.
channels that runs for a little period of time, and then there's sort of like a gray overlap of when you'll have home to video, whatever that means, whether it be VHS or DVD. That the physical release, there was money to be made on. Look at how they've messed all that up, man. It's just that's crazy. So.
For real. And you wonder why the budgets are so big, because they've basically eliminated an entire medium of how they could easily make money. I don't know if you saw, I think it was like 2 or 3 days ago, there was a Variety announced that Disney is releasing a 100 movie Blu-ray of basically all of their classic Disney films
Mhm.
for the first time. And that's coming out in November, but it's like it's like $300 or something like that for all, which when you think about it, for that
I
many
gotta be honest,
movies,
it's actually not that much considering
not
that they very rarely go below $10 depending on what
right.
quality it is if it's Blu-ray. And there's some of those that are exceedingly difficult to find. So I think I
Mhm,
have a copy of like Three Caballeros and Ichabod and Mr. Toad, and I
mhm.
have a couple of those, but I know I don't have them all. You know what I mean?
There
It's
you
like one of
go.
those things like back in that era, those were harder to find. Now I do
Mhm.
have. Talk about wanting to wind Vex up and turn her loose. I have a physical copy of Song of the South. Yep.
Really?
Mhm.
The
Yeah, I
movie
wanted
that
to
they banned everywhere because it
oh, yeah,
was
yeah. Oh, yeah.
the
It was
original.
banned. Oh, yeah, theatrical release, yeah, yeah. So it came out on Laserdisc, and those got transferred. People would transfer the Laserdisc, and you can get copies. So I was actually in a gift shop in Georgia at, like, a gorge or a cliff, and this little redneck gift shop had these DVD copies of Song of the South. And I read the label and I showed Mrs. Pops and bought one for my friend. I'm like, I have a gift that you will not believe I stumbled across on vacation. And yeah,
Oh
Song of the
my
South. Now I do have
goodness.
a digital copy as well now. Like I actually, you can transfer that now. But yeah, I want to do an EFAP on that someday. But that's like one of those days where I'm going to take a day off from work and just do like a 7 hour stream. Cause that's going to be the kind of thing where I'm just going to go scene by scene of like this has been so misrepresented because poor Uncle Remus, he's a hero, man. He's a goat in this story, man. It's great. It's not a negative at all. It's a positive. So
I don't think I've actually seen the movie in full, in all honesty, because it
yeah,
had become so hard to find
yeah. It
even
was
in the
completely
digital
unavailable.
space.
Yeah,
But like
even
even with that,
VHS, even VHS were recalled. I mean, it got yeah. Even during the VHS era was they would start recalling things like that. So, but
wow.
yeah. Vex, the Goonies. What a great way to throw back and give somebody some encouragement and some fun. Talked about some fun stuff. So it's great. Thanks for doing this and hanging out with me doing this.
Oh, my pleasure. Honestly, yeah. If you haven't seen the Goonies, oh, what happened with my lighting there
Something,
for a second? But
I don't know.
watch the Goonies. Like it's actually
Yeah.
like genuinely a feel good movie that has aged beautifully. It almost feels like the more wondrous version of Pirates of the Caribbean, if that's the closest comparison I can make. Like that first Pirates of the Caribbean movie, like you had the pirate ship, you had the mysticism, you had the fun. It was very lighthearted in a lot of instances, but then there were the dark undertones with your villains and whatnot. But then there's also that magic of finding this like this shipwreck with all this gold on it. So it's like if you've seen Pirates of the Caribbean, think of a more like wholesome adventure one that is actually more relatable to you because this is like you going on the adventure. almost.
I think the wholesomeness of the kids even makes it more personal because you're
Yeah,
enjoying the wonder of the journey more than like a Pirates of the Caribbean. I'm not trying to take away from Pirates of
exactly.
the Caribbean because I couldn't agree more. And we talk about our rewatchability factor. Like there's almost like there should be a multiplier for, like it's a Goonies is probably a 4-star movie, but it's like
Mhm.
the multiplier on it makes it so much more than that because it doesn't. I don't know. I've watched it and it just didn't miss a beat. Like I'm just like
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm
It's a
just
10 out
good.
of 10 for rewatchability alone, in
It's
all honesty.
incredible. Like
Yeah.
there's no, I don't think there's really any loose ends in the script. I don't have any like real wasted screen time where I'm like, oh, this should be cut
Mhm.
out or whatever. I mean, I can nitpick some things maybe, but I just don't feel it. I'm like, this is great. This
Yeah.
is phenomenal. So
Mhm.
yeah, Goonies. Well, and again, I didn't want to do a little 5-minute on Goonies, so I'm really happy that we were able to do this. And again, it'll be 40 years in a couple years. So planting my flag for now, but probably come back and revisit this movie at that point because it's
There
been
you go,
great.
and hopefully we'll get, like, a really nice Blu-ray edition or upgrade for it as well at that time. Because if there's any movie more deserving of the kind of the modern upgrade treatment, it's definitely The Goonies.
They
My
have a
goodness.
4K. Yeah, they have a
Yeah.
4K they dropped during the pandemic.
Oh,
So
okay,
good.
beautiful,
Yeah, yeah,
beautiful, so that
yeah.
makes it even better.
Yeah, so there's a 4K version out there. So yeah, but there should be an anniversary version. Maybe there'll be
Mhm,
a cool steel book with some good artwork or something like that.
mhm.
Those are always fun. So, but folks, check out that description. Get connected to this lady. She's not PG-13. Just be warned when you wind her up, turn her loose. I, but I get a stamp of approval on those takes. Those takes are hot. She's good. She knows what she's
Lots of
talking
crude
about. So
jokes to look out for as well.
she pushes the envelope a little bit, but you know what? This is the space for us to have all kinds. But it's been great to spend time with her. Great to have everybody here. Thanks for leaving those comments. Let us know what you guys think. Give some love for Goonies. Get the word out there. Having a good time, having fun, and enjoying entertainment, not getting bogged down with all the negativity. So Vex, again,
Mhm.
thanks for being here. Take care,
My
everybody. We'll
pleasure.
talk to you soon.
My favorite quality about Pops is that he's incredibly honest. At least you always know where you stand with Pops. So I like that about him. He's not passive aggressive. He's not sneaky that way. He'll give it to you straight down both barrels.